Good morning. Today is Thursday. It is the 11th day of Elul. And we conclude today the chapter 12, letter 12 of the Igeret Hakodesh, the holy letters of the Alter Rebbe. And in this letter, the Alter Rebbe was talking about two ways of doing tzedakah, which leads to two results of making peace and tranquility. There is peace that you make together, and there is peace that you make separated. What do I mean by that? It is easy. They say there was once a couple. I was talking about their life together. They said, we have very good peace because what happens, what do you do? It says, we go out twice a week. Monday I go out, Thursday she goes out. So sometimes they say to make peace separated. It's easy to make peace when you are here, I am there, we're in two different places. But the main thing of making peace is when you are actually together and you're dealing with each other and you're working on to refine and to bend yourself and to bring yourself to the point that you both of you come together. And in our relationship with Hashem, there is a peace between the good side and the other side, the not good side that we're trying to make. How do we make the peace? It is basically by revealing the good side and eliminating the other side. Not only that, but to the point that the other side will turn into good. The evil will turn into good. The darkness will turn into light. However, there is two stages in doing it. He called it, there is the action of tzedakah, the maaseh tzedakah, and there is the avodas tzedakah, the work, the service of tzedakah. What is the action of tzedakah? The acts of tzedakah, he refers to like the acts of something that is done because it's part of your nature. And he explained that in the nature of every Jew, there is the godly attributes, which are the kindness overpowers the severity. And we are born like that. And that is why when we do such acts of charity, acts of kindness out of our nature, out of a good nature, it does tremendous things. And it brings peace also between the good and the not good side. However, being that this is something that we do it's because of our natural instinct. It's not something that we work on to change ourselves. We're doing it and giving the tzedakah, and tremendous things it accomplishes. But it accomplishes a unity between the godly soul and the animal soul. But it's not completely transforming the evil side. When Mashiach comes, we'll see the results. And when we are here, but until Mashiach comes, we can only have it temporarily. So when you're involved in prayer, when you're involved in doing good things and studying Torah, yes, so it's like you live separated from the other side. It's like the couple living in two different places. And you are into goodness, into your good things. But what happens after davening? When you finish davening, and all of a sudden, the evil inclination rises his ugly head once again. That means that when you come together and you really face the real life, when you face real challenges, it's not necessarily that the case that you would be able to bring it together. This is, it says, this is the result of the acts of tzedakah. In other words, everything what you do, you're doing positive things. But you're in your comfort zone. You're doing whatever is easy, whatever it's the right things, it's the good things to do. But you're doing really, you're flowing with the flow, you're going with the flow, you're doing whatever the right things, but you're not challenged with the other side. So therefore, this is a positive thing, but the result of this is shalom, the peace. But it's a peace that is not revealed in the time when you see the darkness. But then there is the second way, the better, the deeper way, the stronger way of doing things is avodas tzedakah, the work of tzedakah. And the work meaning that you're putting the effort in things that you're going against your nature. It's not just like you give because this is the nature of your giving. You give much more than what your nature is to give. And the same thing is true with everything. When you study Torah, you invest yourself much more. When you pray, you take some parts of the prayer and you say, today I'm going to focus on this and this part. I'm going to put my efforts into this. This, says the Alter Rebbe, the result, he explains the verse, avodas tzedakah, the service of tzedakah, the work of tzedakah. What is the result? Hashkeit v'vetach adolam. Quietness and tranquility and surety forever. Because this really transforms. When you are investing in something, you are becoming transformed. When you break yourself, you can deal with the other side and come together in a way of the good side prevails. So this is what the Alter Rebbe is going to conclude in today's chapter. Let us look inside. Says the Alter Rebbe. This is the meaning of the verse that it says, and the act of charity shall be peace. That even the kind of charity which is called an act and not a service. As we said, the difference between acts and service, act is what something that is done on its own because of your nature, constantly doing. The service is something that you work on. So even the kind of tzedakah which is not a service, it's an act. Afal pikein beisarusa telesata isarusa teleila. Nevertheless, this arousal from below will nevertheless elicit an arousal from above. It will bring down the arousal from above that Hashem, when you give the tzedakah, when you do the good things, it brings upon you the light of Hashem. That one arouses a manifestation of the infinite Ein Sof. It brings down the light, the endless light of Hashem, with a great illumination and an intense diffusion. It brings, that illuminates and diffuses the light of Hashem, both in the upper levels and in the lower levels. And peace is brought about in God's high places, between the angel Michael and the angel Gabriel, as we mentioned in the previous few days, the peace between the chesed and the gevura, the severity and the kindness, and also within the lower levels, the terrestrial levels. However, then you have, as a result of this kind of illumination, the effect in this world is not going to be revealed until Mashiach comes. In this lowly world, however, there will be no manifestation of this peace and of the refinement and the separation of the evil from the good ad eskates until the ultimate time. The ultimate time is referring to the time of Mashiach, when then it says the evil will cease to exist, because the evil has its root, its power from the good side. And once the good side is separated and you bring out the good from the bad, then the evil ceases to exist. But in the time, during the time of exile, it's not so much revealed as explained earlier in this chapter. Except, he says, only on certain occasions you can feel that godly peace in you. When is it? Except in the microcosm, meaning in man, in every time of finding, meaning during prayer. As it is written, through tzedek, through charity, through kindness, justice, I behold your countenance, meaning seeing the inner part of Hashem through giving tzedakah before davening, before prayer. Kaniz Kala'el is mentioned before. What happens after davening? So even so, after prayer, it is possible that the evil will easily reawaken and become intermingled with the good. Because as we mentioned yesterday, everything good has some bad involved also. You're doing good things, but you have your ulterior motives. Everything good has something selfish involved. So therefore, and that little not good can drag a person down if you don't keep it in check. As one walks about in the darkness of this world. So that is why the result of the regular tzedakah is a very positive result, but the full result will be seen only when Mashiach comes. But in this time, before Mashiach comes, it is only felt during the davening, but not so much when the person gets involved once again in the material world. However, the Alter Rebbe concludes here, but in the higher level, the deeper level of tzedakah, the tzedakah that you do with working, the service of tzedakah, working against your nature, this has a result even here and even now. That's what Alter Rebbe concludes. However, as to charity which is practiced with self-imposed toil at the level of avoda, service, since it is exceedingly precious and lofty, far more than the tzedakah one practices out of his own natural inclination. Because what happens over here? You're nullifying yourself. You're breaking your nature. It says, because in the former case, one overrules his nature. I don't know why he says in the former case. It's probably the latter case. We're talking about the second level, the level of the avoda. I should say the latter case, one overrules his nature and bodily will out of deference to the supreme will. Veiskafia sitra achra. And the sitra achra is subjugated. When the sitra achra is the evil side is subjugated. And then the glory of the Holy One, blessed be He, rises and becomes manifest in all the worlds. And this is like the superiority of light that is out of darkness, over darkness. That is known, meaning the darkness itself also can turn into light. Now, because of that, because this is such a deep self-transformation, therefore, when a person really works on himself to transform himself so much, in such a case, by virtue of the exertion involved in this superior form of tzedakah, the evil can no longer reawaken so easily of itself. When you really transform and you work on yourself, then that sticks to you. You cannot, the evil cannot raise its head so easily. It doesn't say that it's completely gone, because if a person really tries hard, he's going to get the evil back again. As we mentioned yesterday, even the greatest tzaddik should never be completely sure of himself. But it's basically what he's saying is it's put in its place, and it's separated from the good, and you are now in a good place. Unless, heaven forfend, one rouses it and draws it upon himself. There's a saying that we say on Yom Kippur, we say the vidui, we say the confession of the sins. One of the confessions is we say al chet shechatanu lefanecha beyetzer hara. We confess to God to forgive us for the sins that we sinned to you with the evil inclination. And the question is asked, what does it mean? Isn't every sin something that is done with the evil inclination? What is it, a sin done with a good inclination? And the Rebbe once said, what that means is that sometimes you're going about your ways, and you're doing and you're bringing upon yourself into situations that even the Yetzer Hara didn't think of. You're dragging it upon yourself. You're putting yourself into situations, into circumstances to be tempted to sin. That is that is a sin that we pull the Yetzer Hara and we drag him to convince us to do something bad. So that is similar to what the Alter Rebbe is saying here. That when you do the avodas tzedakah, when you work with yourself and you really invest yourself into doing good things and going against your nature, this really separates the good from the evil. And you're in a good place, except if you pull the Yetzer Hara on yourself. That's what it says. That's why we need to be careful with this also. It says, unless, heaven forfend, one rouses it and draws it upon himself. Now the Alter Rebbe finishes the explanation of the last words of this verse. We said, what is the result of this? He said, the result of working with the service of tzedakah, it brings hashket v'vetach hadolam. This is then the meaning of quietness and surety forever. This is the reward of the service. So he says, the Alter Rebbe says, hashket. What is the word hashket? Hashket means quietness, but it has also another meaning. In Hebrew, hashket is from the word melashon shoket al shemarav. Shoket means is rests on the dregs. When you have wine, you do the wine, you have the separate the dregs that goes down, and the pure wine goes up. So it means this is what it means is when you're doing this work, you're making sure that the evil side, the not good side, goes down all the way to the bottom, and the purity goes up, and you're connected with the purity. That's what he says. Ashket meloshen sheket al shmorav. Hashket, quietness, is related to the root of the verb in the phrase, he rests shoket on his dregs, meaning that the dregs are completely separated from the wine and sink all the way down. While the wine above is wholly pure and clear. Similarly, with the service of charity. Now the dregs represent the admixture of the evil in one's soul. So that mixture of the good and the evil is like the shmarim, the dregs. And what happens after when you work on yourself is nivra v'nifrad me'at me'at, which is gradually extricated and separated until it falls netherward, falls down into its roots and soars below all worlds. as we say, "V'sashlich b'metzulas yom kol chatoisam," as it is written, and you will cast all their sins into the depths of the sea. That's what we say when we say the tashlach. And Rosh Hashanah, when we go to the water, we ask, "V'sashlich b'metzulas yom kol chatoisam," Hashem should cast all our sins deep down into the sea. So this is the end of today's shir. And when we're saying casting it down into the sea, why don't we say to completely eliminate the evil altogether? Why do we have to keep it down somewhere in the sea? After all, in the sea, that means it still exists there. And the answer is because really everything is created for a good reason. And ultimately, when we're doing the right things, we can reach up to a level that we can take the darkness and really transform it. It says, Abal Teshuvah can reach a level of that the sins can be considered like mitzvahs. Because if those sins are the ones that lead the person and push the person and energize the person to go and do teshuvah, get closer to Hashem, then the sin itself can also be turned into a mitzvah. So, Bezat Hashem, will continue. And any questions we can take now, and don't forget to invite friends, people to join us live and to share this on YouTube and other media. And any questions we can take now.